Hi guys, R.A. Sweeney again, bringing another prayer from Prayers from the Time of Jesus. Today we're going to be talking about what I labeled as Tefilla Yeshua. This is what most of us grew up calling the Lord's Prayer or the Our Father, but I called it the Tefilla Yeshua, which means the prayer of Jesus. So if you're following along in the book, it is this prayer right here. It's the third one in there. So I didn't call this the Lord's Prayer because it's not really exactly how it's presented in the Bible. There's actually two accounts of this prayer in the Bible, and they don't match perfectly. There's some differences in the way they're presented. And so what I put together here is mixing the Matthew 6 version with the Luke 11 version. It's not perfect to either one, but I think it captures well what Jesus was trying to say. So the prayer itself, I'm not going to read it in Greek because there isn't a Greek version of this. It's just, a couple of Greek versions that I put together into one. So what I put together from the Greek is Our Father among the heavens, set apart your name. Bring, which carries the implication of bringing near, your reign or your dominion. Bring into being the purposes of you, as in the heavens, so also on the land. The bread of our sustenance, or the bread of our need, give us on the day we need it, or each day. Then there's this word that is send away or cast off or exile that'll get used here again in a second. The recompense or the unpaid damages of our missing the mark, as also we, that same thing, the sending away or casting off, the recompenses our. Do not carry inward us among testings, nevertheless, snatch away us away from that which is bad. So traditionally, there's not a time that people would have prayed this prayer. Jesus simply said that this is how his followers should be praying. In Jewish culture at that time, most devout Jews would pray a prayer called the Shema as part of their daily prayer life. Some would pray it at different times. Some of the really faithful ones would pray it 3 times a day. And so a lot of scholars think this is a prayer that was supposed to fit in that same way, to where it should be a daily prayer or even a 3 times a day prayer. But to fit it into the schedule of the book, we made it our lunchtime prayer. So this is something we pray in the middle of the day. We pray it when we come together for lunch. Um, I think it's important to be praying this prayer. I think it's obviously a really important prayer since it's the only one that Jesus said, this is how you should pray. And so we pray it at lunch. If we aren't together for lunch or if we miss it at that time, we'll do it at dinner or even bedtime. We make sure that we get this one in. So I won't go through the whole thing, but just to start out with, wanted to talk through the first parts of this. So opens up with calling God Father. In the Old Testament, God is only referred to as Father a handful of times. It is not very often that he's referred to as a father, especially not anybody's personal father. If it's anyone's father, it's the father of Israel or something like that. But in the New Testament, he's called Father dozens of times just in the Gospels even. So Adam was referred to as God's son all throughout the Old Testament, the New Testament. That's a pretty common thing. But through his transgression, eating from the tree in Genesis 3, that relationship really changed. And so I think that's where the dynamic shift from calling him Father in the New Testament and not calling him Father in the Old Testament comes from, is Jesus is reopening that relationship. So the Hebrew word for transgression, what Adam did in Genesis 3, is pesha, which literally means breaking trust in a relationship or even betrayal. So when Adam rejected God's fathership, he was acting on behalf of humanity and he rejected God as Father for all humans. But when Jesus came, we're told that he came as the new Adam, and so he's restoring that relationship for God to be our Father. So in Jesus, we are welcome to call God our Father, and this is a concept that Jesus wanted to share with us. He wanted to instruct us to communicate with God that way and to be telling ourselves at least daily, if not 3 times a day, we need to remind ourselves that we are coming to God as our Father, that it's a personal relationship, not a relationship that's based on the transgression or the betrayal of Adam, but on the faithfulness and the loving relationship that Jesus has with our Father. So, like I said, I'll just introduce that stuff for right now. We'll break the rest of it up into a few more videos, but that's kind of the introduction to the Tefilla Yeshua, the prayer of Jesus. So you know what it sounds like. We get kind of that introduction, and then we'll get into the actual meat and potatoes of the prayer in the next video. So we'll see you then. Thanks for listening.